I'm Chozo.
And I'm Seamus.
And we're from the Zero Level.
Where our opinions form the baseline for yours.
And we're here at ShadoCon.
ShadoCon, Tampa, Florida.
And it's been pretty cool. And we bumped into actually Doug Walker, although you may know him as 9 million other different aliases.
Nostalgia Critic, the bum reviews, what else we got going on? That guy with the glasses.com in general, Channel Awesome, kind of the founder of all that awesome web show stuff. Actually, that's my question I wanted to actually ask during the panel we had for you earlier was how did that all start? How did you get Channel Awesome to kind of come together? Did somebody approach you and say, we have a bunch of people we want to work together, and we want you to be kind of that foundation block, that starting point to kind of jumpstart everything, or was it already kind of their established community there, and they invited you into it, and you became like their poster boy?
I have a question for you. How come you guys are so much higher up than I feel very odd by this. I'm going to sit right here.
Wait. I think I got it.
This feels better.
Oh, wait.
Better. I like that. Okay. Well, now it's descending
Now
order.
I feel like Professor Xavier.
This is much better. Okay. It's more uncomfortable for me, but at least I look taller. Okay, so pretty much what happened, I started doing these things as a hobby, like the 5-second movies and nostalgia critics and stuff, and a friend of a friend named Mike Mashad came along and said he was putting together a company called Channel Awesome, and he liked my stuff. He thought I had a lot of good content, and I had a lot of views too and stuff like that, and he said, we can make it where if we give you a website, a place to circle your home for your videos and stuff, instead of getting kicked off of YouTube over and over, that we can actually make it where, you can get paid for this. This is when nobody was getting paid for this. Okay.
Can we get paid for this?
Case in point.
It's that internet money.
Hi, Mike.
And so I said, well, okay, let's see where this goes. And sure enough, I don't have a business mind at all. He put the website together. He also came up with the idea to turn into a community. Get other reviewers on from all across the world and take people from the forums and people that audition. And it turned into the website you got today, and I'm still so thankful for it because, it's still my full-time gig, and it's unbelievable to just be doing what you love for a living.
Now, I watched your video when you quit your job, and that was a pretty famous video.
That was fun.
And I think a lot of people out there really wish that they could do the same thing. Would you have any advice for what to do or what not to do? When you quit your job for this?
It's one of those things where I kind of feel bad about it because I know it was really douchey, but at the same time, it wasn't really against the company. It was against this one guy who was constantly trying to get me fired.
Now, where was this?
This was just at a car factory. I mean, I was just a janitor at a car factory, the night shift. And I just knew I was actually taking it because I was finishing up school. And, it's just a night class and then go to school during the day, so I didn't get a ton of sleep. But when I went and did that, and this guy was constantly trying to get me fired, but then would smile at me and stuff, I would just always be playing this scene in my head of me ripping over my shirt with the I quit written on it, playing Bohemian Rhapsody, and in terms of how to do it, I guess I would recommend not doing it because you might get arrested, but it just shows that you can do it without getting arrested, so take that for what it's worth.
You have a broad spectrum of people that are on the website that, kind of work with you, and we had a question from one of our contributors that actually wanted to know, is there ever been a point on the website where, and I know that you're not necessarily the person that gets directly involved with it a lot of the times if there's a problem between two of the different contributors on Channel Awesome, but have you ever run into a problem where there has been somebody who's maybe made a questionable video that they really wanted to post and, just because of the nature of the material, you've ever found that it's kind of, I don't think we're going to really be able to put that video up on the website.
There's been one or two times, actually, even in my videos, sometimes I've done a joke that even I just felt personally, no, I think I, crossed a boundary here that, that isn't funny and it's not fair. And once in a while you come across a video like that, or we really feel, because especially if you watch Ask That Guy, it's a lot of content just flies. I mean, that's part of the fun. But at the same time, we want to be sure it's still funny, it still connects to something that's not actually promoting hate. It's if something hateful is being said, it's being said by a stupid person who doesn't know any better. So there's one or two times where we have had to say, we think this video won't fly, this isn't gonna, this is not a fair video. But Not often, it actually is not that often that we tell a person, you can't run this. I mean, every once in a while.
Disclaimer, all of the content on this site is the property of the producer, and Channel also does not guarantee to share
Well,
their
and
views.
sometimes, we think of the producers too, because, sometimes they're not aware, hey, this could get me in real trouble. There's 1 or 2 videos actually I was going to do at some points where, Mike Machad stepped in and said, you know what, this might not be wise and stuff. And I'm thankful he did, because looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, that would have gotten me in trouble. That would have made me look really bad.
You seem to have a really good support team for everything that you do. You got your brother and Mike, as you've mentioned. Holly, Christine, she's been in contact with me, and she's been great with getting me the information just to set things like this up. So it's like, you have a really good, strong backbone that just kind of forms together like Voltron to do what you do. And how does it feel to be be the face of that? Because as you know, that guy with the glasses.com, you are the main in the Looney Tunes thing. You got your head there. You are the face of what all these people are doing together, and you seem to be very confident in their skills, obviously, to get you where you need to go.
Yeah, and I'm very much, I always make it very clear, I'm very much the talent. I am not the business end at all. Even when directing something, it's like I try as hard as I can to get this stuff together, but it's still, I'm still there to act and write and perform. I'm there to entertain, in terms of getting the statistics and the technicals down and stuff like that. It's like, I'm trying my best, but I know that I'm always there to be the entertainer. The business side, the technical side and stuff like that, I know I'm usually not very good at, so I try to keep to what I'm good at.
It always seems to fall on you to make things continue to be fun for everyone, though. Like, I can see the type of person that you are, is where you look at everyone concerned as whether that person's having a good time, whether this person feels it's funny, whether this person's offended by it. You just seem to have your feelers out there. That's just how I feel about the way that you are about things, and it really shows in a lot of things, like especially the anniversary videos where you get together with all of your other reviewers. And the last one was amazing. Obviously, I asked the question last time about whether or not you can hit film festivals with it, which I personally think you should do. It's a lot of work, yes, but I think you should.
I think people would just go in like, who's Nostalgia Cray, who's Mati, what happened here, what blah blah blah.
There's a lot of mythology.
But when you really think about it, though, who does in all the rest of these movies that are at the film festivals? We just covered the Orlando Film Festival, so we got to see the awesome movie Suburban Backlot, which one of our friends, MC Rection, actually was a main character in, and it was my first film festival, and I'm like. You're sitting there and you're like, our friends are awesome, but then there's also points where you're just like, okay, this is a movie, but it was captivating with a lot of the stuff that you did. The references were really good. It was just nonstop funny, and it obviously, as reviewers ourselves, personally, I don't know if you've watched. You liked Kick-Assy, I believe it was.
Yeah, the second special you guys did, the anniversary thing. I thought it was just awesome. That was really good because you had the big brawl or whatever in Chicago that you guys had done. And then when I saw Kick-Assy, all of a sudden it was a matter of, but there's Film Brain, there's Paw, you had everybody kind of collected together, and everybody had their own storylines built into it. Do you ever find that it's hard to get everybody in that do you find it's hard to try to, for the specials especially, do you find that maintain the Awesomeverse? Do you think that sometimes there's like a weird continuity chops you guys have to make sometimes?
Oh yeah, and there's a lot of continuity chops. Well, even with Film Brain, Matthew's character on his review show is not very much like that. But when I watched his reviews, I just felt, if he ended up with the Nostalgia Craig, he's very snobby and very, I do not like this or that. But when he would see the Nostalgia Craig, he just turned out like a puppy dog. I don't know why, I just saw it that way, and it fit in telling the story too, where you have to have these specific characters, especially because when you're telling one big story, even though it is all these characters that have these established personalities, it still comes down to these are cynical people who make fun of bad stuff, and you have to mix it up a little bit. I mean, their personalities are very distinct, but it's always they're cynical, and you can't have everybody just be a nostalgia critic or everybody be a linkar or something like that. Like, everybody has to have a unique role in the story you're writing. So that's why we did make changes here and there. And there are continuities that don't match up with some other people's storylines and stuff like that. But that's
where the plot hole fits in the Holy Fleet.
Well, that was our way around it. We just sort of said, hey, here's our way out of every problem we've ever written. So
that's pretty good. And since you bring up the whole fact about not everyone can be a nostalgia critic, another thing you probably also know from your site is that there are a lot of clones, I guess I would say. Even we kind of have the thing where we come in with a tagline and leave with a tagline. I mean, you've pretty much started the whole, I'm the insert gender based with costume idea, and I do this thing that everyone else does, so this person doesn't have to. And how does it feel that every time you see that? Are you tired of it? Are you glad there's so many people copying you, or do you want like? It's got to feel weird, man. You know?
It's flattering when you see that stuff, because it's like, oh wow, you hit on a formula that people really want to do. It does put, suddenly, like when you're doing something new, like with demo reel, it does suddenly put a lot of pressure on you, because it's suddenly like, you create this formula that really worked, and now you're going to try something else, and you just automatically have, is this going to be as good as this? Or even, should it be? Or is this just something different? Or is it something that should connect to what it was before? So there's a lot of build-up to that, and you're going to get people that don't want the change or want more change, and just people who are, just going to have their reactions to it. So there is that pressure, but at the same time, I think there's a really good feeling that you're with people who will still allow you to do something different. I mean, like any business would probably say, no, dude, don't end Nostalgia Critic. Don't stop. You're still making, good money with it.
Well, it's like Ego Raptor said last night. It's a respectable move to go out when you're on top. I mean, look at Seinfeld. Everyone still talks about Seinfeld because they went out when they were on top, and it's just kind of.
Well, and we knew we didn't. Like I said, if we wanted to keep going, I mean, we could, and we could still get some good laughs. But we just knew it was running down, and we didn't want to. We didn't want to beat it, because there's always other stuff we want to do, and we, for the people that we make fun of, we always say, oh, they're running it too long, they won't let this die, and blah blah blah. We didn't want to go that route. We felt, I mean, even if everything tanks, Channel Awesome explodes and nothing ever goes right, stuff like that, I think we'll still stand by that was a good move, ending the nostalgia cred, because we always have that, that street cred.
Now, with I remember going back to the big brawl, there was that kind of rivalry kind of building up there between you and James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd. And how much of that was real, and how much of that, was it really kind of Andy Kaufman style?
Whatever happened to Captain S?
He was at the signing there. We didn't want him to feel like, oh hey, here's the thing, and Captain S. It's like, no, we really want him to be in there as well, because they've done a crossover too. So in terms of how much of it is real, no. I mean, it's like, we knew from the beginning. I did this because the fans were making comparisons, especially when I did the Ninja Turtles movie. They're like, oh, this is like James Rolfe. This is like the angry video game nerd and stuff like that. And, I saw stuff and I really liked it. It's one of the things that, sort of inspired me to say, oh, I can do this. There is an audience for this. So it's one of those things when you're making this video taunting him, you don't actually know whether or not it's going to go anywhere. You sort of think, wouldn't it be cool if it led to this big battle and all this stuff happening, but you don't think it's really going to happen. But what the hell, you try it.
Kind of like
sure enough, it happened, because he had such a good sense of humor and he saw the possibilities of it.
Now, do you often see what the fans say and think, all right, we got to do this? Like, I mean, with the Mara Wilson thing, you mentioned the fans and all that. Do you really keep your eye on what everyone says, like the slash fics and the fan fics, and who you got to get together? What do you feel you have to exploit things such as, like, what the people are saying for what they see your character doing, like Lindsay Ellis and Shadow Todd, and all of the stuff that goes on seems to be based on what you see in the forums and people posting, oh, they're in a relationship. Like, do you try to feed off of what the emotions?
Well, first off, they really are in a relationship. Let's get that straight.
Right.
But in terms of how much do we take from the, I mean, we do take a lot when we feel something has gotten so big that we can't ignore it. Like, for example, in the TMNT review, I make fun of the guy who did the voice of Splinter, who was Mako, who died, and I make fun of the voice, and I say it sounds like he smoked 1 million cigarettes, and it turns out he died of lung cancer. It's like, oh, Jesus! So, and the fans were so angry, so I made that a running joke now, that whenever I would reference Mako, who it turns out pops up in a lot of the movies I review in the future, I would always treat him like, an angel or a god or something like that. So, or when I did the Let's Play and people really didn't respond well to that and they didn't like it, you turn it into a joke. You make a press conference for, making an apology to it, and you work it into the next review. And then other times, like with Demo Reel, the first episode premiered, and we shot the first 2 episodes back to back. And when the first one came out, and we were looking over the comments, some we don't agree with, but others were sort of like, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, let's start going this direction. And we decided to start going this other direction. to a point where we decided not to show the official second episode. Because we knew we were going to go in this new direction, and this would not really tie in, and this wasn't up to what we wanted to give the people. So the episode after that is going to be the official second episode. We moved the schedule around because we felt this is what we want to give the fans. We want to give them our best. And we do listen to, what people say. And the stuff we agree with and we feel they're right on, we'll make the changes. If it's something that we don't agree with, we'll just keep doing it because, we feel it's good. But that always has to be the thing. We have to feel it's good. And even if someone points out something, we're not going to be, you're wrong! If we feel they're right, we'll be like, we'll own up to it.
That's the funny thing, like for us, we always seem to feel that our worst stuff is our best stuff.
Sometimes it gets very back and forth. Like we'll get people responses on there all the time. It's like, yeah, it was really hilarious. And we'll be like, it was really hilarious.
Yeah, no, they laugh at the dumbest thing too. You're like, you're building up this great joke, and then it's all of a sudden, we thought the shootout in the parking lot was awesome, and it's like, thanks.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing you probably figure out too is that you can never tell exactly what's going to be the real big hit joke. It's like sometimes you can. Like sometimes, like the whole reason we did the Suburban Commando review was just so we could work in I Was Frozen today because we always said that back and forth growing up. So the fact that turned into a big joke, it's like, oh, okay, we can actually sort of see that. But other things like, the fact that Sparkle, Sparkle, Sparkle is so big. Everyone still quotes that to me at cons. I was just sort of like, oh, okay, I thought maybe you'd do okay. But it's like people are still quoting it.
What's the one joke you thought that would be the biggest that just kind of tanked and no one ever really got back to you on?
Oh, God, that's a good question.
We're doing it, Shane. We're doing an interview.
God,
we're giving good questions.
We're finally reaching that level.
It's hard to say, because I know there definitely are some where I was like, oh, this is going to be big. People are going to laugh so hard at this and stuff, and, I don't even know if it gets a chuckle, or they just pass over it or something, or they don't really think about it. Maybe Dirty Little Kitty from the second Mortal Kombat movie. I thought that one was going to be really, really big. And a lot of people don't remember it. So, but that really cracked me up. I'm like, oh, they're going to make t-shirts out of this. It's going to be so huge. And it never really became anything.
Instead, its bubbles became like a huge
Yeah,
thing.
a fucking bubble. Oh, no. The other one was He-Man going, I have permission. We thought that was going to be really big. And instead, it was, the bubbles joke.
Do you ever find that, especially going to the panel yesterday, there was a lot of people that just wanted to kind of emote with you and kind of go through, a normal routine on your show. And do you find that there's a point where you would kind of like to have a panel where people are just asking, straightforward questions and not really shouting back, memes at you, I guess, or just the random jokes?
Somebody asked, what's your favorite and least favorite meme? And I said the answer to both of them is my own. Because on the one hand, when someone shouts back credit card, you sort of roll your eyes, okay, here we go. And I go, back credit card, arg, I'll kill you. But then when you see people laugh at it and get so into it, it's like, yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah. So it's always, whenever I hear it, you sort of roll your eyes a bit, but then when you see people and just how happy it makes them, it's just like, okay, cool. That doesn't take too much effort.
What type of music do you generally listen to? And this is leading to something else. What's your general genre of music? You have a broad range of vocals, and you sing a lot, and you have a lot of respect for classic stuff. You also mentioned you did a little rap at your thing, and you mentioned musical backgrounds with opera. Now, favorite music type you listen to?
That's tough. Both my brother and I really like movie soundtracks for whatever reason. For me, especially stuff with like a chorus in it. So maybe that's why we like opera too, because it is just telling a story through music. So I don't know. It just depends on my mood. Sometimes I'll be really into like a movie score. Sometimes I'll really be into opera. Sometimes I'll be into like Metallica or Smashing Pumpkins or something. Or sometimes I'll be into like fun, doing What Do I Stand For, or something like that. It's like I'll be into something current, I'll be into something old. It's hard to say. It's just something that feels big, usually, like something that's really big and really epic. Or if it's going to be really soft and quiet, something that's really soothing and really like heavenly. So it has to be really extreme.
Okay, so going in a completely opposite direction from what you apparently like. We went to the Cypress Hill concert the other day. And from what you said about the classics and the things and how you're like, oh, I got to do all the same bits and whatever. this is what I loved about the Cypress Hill concert, being that they did the music in the 90s. I love 90s stuff. They did all of their old classics for the entire concert, and then 3 new songs at the end. And I was like, wow, they're here for the fans. This is the most amazing concert I've ever seen because it was speaking to me. Do you generally feel that way about a lot of the new stuff that you see with the old classics for the stuff that you want to see? Like if you went to the new Aerosmith concert, since they just coming out with a new studio album, would you want to hear more of the older stuff because of the nostalgic twang to it, or would you be more interested in hearing the newer stuff?
It just varies. Like I'm one of the few people that actually I like traditional Metallica, but I really like the stuff they did in the '90s too.
Saint Anger?
Yeah, you know, and Reloaded and stuff like that. I mean, stuff where it's like, you know, I mean, everyone's like, oh, I like old Metallica. It's like, well, I was introduced to sort of the newer Metallica, though, so that was my introduction. So I think there's always going to be a place where you're always going to love the original stuff, you know, because it's just for nostalgia value. But in terms of newer stuff, I would say go for it. And if I don't like it, well, okay, you're still doing the nostalgic stuff.
It's not going to stop you from driving to the concert, blasting and riding the light. Man.
Yeah, you still got the recording. I mean, it's like, go ahead, try the new stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
All right, I do have some questions here from some of our other viewers, and one of our contributors, Comrade Kitty, she actually asked, when you and your brother are sitting down to watch a movie to kind of do the write-up for it, do you have like a tape recorder you set down in front of you? Do you kind of get a notepad and start writing down some
I
sequences
usually
of jokes?
we'll watch the movie, I'll sort of be like Mystery Science here, where we'll just shout jokes at the screen, and the ones that I really like or I think I can do a joke with, I just write down like a sentence or what the joke was. And I write it down in order so that when I watch the movie again, I see those jokes, I can remember, oh, this joke connected to that joke connected to that. And then I just take that and I turn that into script format, pretty much.
Do you have like a set amount of times you like to watch the movie, or do you just kind of go in with, to get a fresh perspective, watch the movie once, get your jokes that you think that come to mind immediately and just get them written down, or do you have to watch the film a couple times?
Usually once, and then as I'm writing the script, I'll sort of watch it again just to see how the joke would flow with it. And then when I'm editing it, I guess you could argue I'm watching it a third time as well.
I have a couple of ones here. One of our other guys, Alex from Movie Questions Answered, asked, do you have any movies, like I know you said once you get to like there was a video I think or a response to like Moulin Rouge, that's when you kind of decided that you wanted to stop doing it, and you mentioned before that there's a few that you realized that you kind of reached the pinnacle of what you wanted to do with the character. Are there any movies that you wish you could have maybe put in there earlier that you could have done the same content with, but with a different film? Is there like any other films that you wish you really could have gotten to?
The one that I do, I haven't seen it, but it looks awful, and I am curious to see it for a nostalgia break. It's actually the animated King and I. Because I've never seen the trailer for it, and there's like evil wizards and dragons and stuff, but it's still using the songs from the musical, and it looks so horrible. And of course, it's only an hour and a half, where the other one is like, I don't know, 3 hours or something. So I was curious to see that because it looked so god awful.
Maybe we'll have to get the King and I at some point.
Yeah.
I hate you so much.
Well, okay, last question I have here from one of our guys, Patrick, again, from that other song is, was there any movies that you and your brother sat down to review that he either really liked and you thought was going to be terrible, or that you really liked and he thought was terrible, and you kind of had that before you even went into the creative process, were trying to negotiate a way to get them a different movie on the table?
Not many. We usually agree pretty closely on films, maybe just the details we disagree. But I remember, like, he originally thought Moulin Rouge was just, like, okay. So I don't remember hating it or anything. And then we had to sit down and really watch it all the way through. He's like, oh god, this is awful. So I think anyone that really sits down and watches it doesn't think of the memory of, like, you know, the music or the imagery. They just really watch it and really see what's going on. They usually don't like it. But if they do, you know, cool, awesome. I mean, nothing wrong with that.
Awesome.
One of the questions that I also wanted to ask was, with the Animaniacs, when you were interviewing the different cast members and the different writers for the show, how did that really fall into your lap to be able to get them there to kind of get the video conference going and get like the interview done? I mean, were you approached by anybody at Warner Brothers to kind of do it, or did somebody
no,
from your end?
it was a fan on the website said they knew Tom Ruger. And, you know, I said, I can get him for, like, an interview or something. I was like, yeah, sure, go ahead and produce him. Let's see. And sure enough, he contacts me. I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, oh, by the way, I also know Sherry Stoner and John B. McCann and stuff like that, and Paul Rudd and all these people.
And
My
now
son
get
also
your
did Skippy,
business card.
you know, and I was just like, I did that, I'm cool with that. And it just sort of went from there, mostly because he's such a cool guy, and we had a fan that, you know, knew him pretty well, so it turned out really nicely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Never want to burn those bridges. You always got to keep that in mind. That's cool.
Was there ever a time where you thought that you had gotten too big for what you were doing? Is there ever a time that you really kind of thought that maybe it had gone out of control?
Holy shit! I'm so over my head.
Yeah. Was there any time you thought, yeah, you literally were over your head on it?
These checks are too
the John
large.
McCain election, as I like to call it, where even he was just like, dude, what have I done? You know, at the most, I haven't gotten there yet because my thought is always, if I can't walk down the street or just go to the store without people hounding me, that's where I'll be like, okay, this has gone too far. But, I mean, I go to a con, I get recognized a lot, but I can just go walk on the street and nobody would recognize me. So, as long as it doesn't hit that point, you know, I'm good.
All right. I know you have a lot of other stuff going on, but you have demo reel coming up. Is there anything else you really want to plug? As far as the stuff you have going on with Blip TV or anything else with Channel Awesome right now?
I got an interview show coming up. I got a review show with my brother coming up. Like I said, we're doing demo reel, and we're still going to be doing bum reviews and Ask That Guys and stuff like that. So there's going to be another Disney December coming up. The bum is going to review Christmas movies as well in December. So there's a lot coming, especially in December.
Awesome. Very, very awesome. Well, it's great to have you here, Doug.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on all your success. And I think we'll kind of call it there for the time being.
Yeah, for sure. I'm Chozo.
I'm Seamus.
And this is the 0 level.
Where our opinion forms the baseline for yours.
And he'll remember it so you don't have to.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Awesome. Absolutely. I should not have sat there the whole time.
I feel bad. Should've got you a pillow.
I commit to the joke, okay?